Good morning everybody, welcome back to the channel. I thought it was about time I did another of my top 10 lists. This time I thought I'd go for 10 of my favourite 1970s movies that don't include Saturday Night Fever or Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Not because they're not my favourites, everybody pretty much knows that they are two of my all-time favourites. I love those films, but I thought I'd do a list that doesn't include those. So that I could include some more. Starting with this one. This is a double feature, Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry and Race with the Devil. It's a Peter Fonda double bill, both excellent movies. Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry is about two guys played by Peter Fonda and Adam Rourke who pick up a girl played by Susan George. They pull off a pretty cold-hearted robbery at a supermarket which is run by Roddy McDowall, who you may remember from the Planet of the Apes movies and also Lassie Come Home in the 40s. They pull this robbery off and take to the open road, pursued by this crazy lawman played by Vic Morrow, who I remember from Twilight Zone the movie. Cracking film, brilliant action movie, well worth watching. Race with the Devil is another road movie, but it's got a horror twist to it. Two couples take to the road in their camper van on a holiday. They pull into a caravan site, or an RV site as they call them over there, in the middle of nowhere, and accidentally witness a satanic ritual, a sacrifice. The Satanists spot them and they take to the open road, basically being chased by Satanists, which is cracking, brilliant movie. It's a kind of a cross between any road movie you could care to name and something like The Wicker Man or Blood on Satan's Claw, something like that. These are both excellent road movies, both classic examples of American road movies. I thoroughly enjoyed both of them. Made in the mid-70s, well worth watching, absolutely well worth watching, so grab those if you can. The next one, The Man from Hong Kong. Now I talked about this one a little bit on a review I did of a movie called Not Quite Hollywood, a documentary on exploitation movies made in Australia, and this featured quite heavily in it. It's starring George Lazenby, who obviously played Bond in On Her Majesty's Secret Service. It is a cracking action movie. If you ask anyone what their favourite martial arts movie is ever, 99.9% of people will probably say Enter the Dragon. This comes a very close second for me. I thoroughly enjoyed this. It is as violent as hell, and I believe it was an absolute health and safety nightmare to film, because obviously there weren't any health and safety rules back then, so a lot of the actors were doing their own stunts and coming to grief doing it. But if you get the chance to watch that, it is a brilliant action film, great martial arts movie. Next one, The Man Who Haunted Himself. This is Roger Moore, around about 1971, so it was just before he took up the mantle of Bond from Sean Connery. It's a kind of a psychological thriller. Moore plays a civil servant named Harold Pelham, who gets reports that he's signing papers that he's not signed, doing things that he's not done. It's all to do with doppelgangers and doubles. It is a cracking thriller. I didn't see the ending coming. Absolutely wonderful. I've seen this quite a few times, but I haven't seen it recently, so this is one I really want to watch and maybe do a review on the website about. Classic of the 70s, well worth watching if you can get hold of it. The next one, Sweeney. This is obviously the big screen adaptation of the TV series from the 70s, starring John Thor and Dennis Waterman. This I thought was really good. It's quite violent. It is roughly what you would expect from the TV series. It does take you slightly out of your comfort zone. Obviously, if you remember the series, it was mostly dealing with bank robbers, violent thugs, murderers, that kind of thing. This slightly goes away from that and becomes a kind of a political thriller. Um, it it's hard to yeah, I mean, I enjoy it. I love watching it. Given the choice between Sweeney and Sweeney 2, I'd rather watch Sweeney 2 because that basically goes back to what we know. But if you get the chance to watch this one, made in 1976, so it was after the series had finished, I think. Um, Definitely well worth watching. Superb British action movie. I mean, there's nobody can make action movies like the British. You just take one look at them, you know what you're getting. So yeah, I would definitely recommend that one. The next one, and this is one I really do have to do a review of because this is a classic of the early 70s, Melody. It's a story of first love. It stars Jack Wilde and Mark Lester in their first movie since Oliver. Um, it is an absolute classic. It's got the most gorgeous soundtrack by the Bee Gees. I haven't seen this for many, many years, but I picked this Blu-ray up a few weeks ago and really, really want to get into it and write a review of it. I know this is one of Caroline Kay's favourites, so I will get around to this one, Caroline. Um, but it is a lovely film. It's directed, I believe, by Alan Parker, one of his early films. It is just a lovely film. It's in the vein of something like Gregory's Girl. It's got the same sort of gentle tones as Local Hero. It's very much like a Bill Forsyth film. But I would really, really recommend this if you've not seen it. I remember seeing it in the mid-70s when it premiered on TV and absolutely fell in love with it. I thought it was a gorgeous little film. So I'm looking forward to getting back into that one. Controversy, Taxi Driver. Robert De Niro plays Travis Bickle. You probably all know the story of this by now. He's an ex-Vietnam vet, and it basically shows him being completely disillusioned with New York city life, the violence, the degradation going on, and it tips him slowly into madness, which ends in the most unbelievable bloodbath at the end. This was as controversial as hell when it came out. Jodie Foster stars in this as well, and I believe Sybil Shepherd is one of the other stars. This is a wonderful, wonderful film, but it is only for those with strong stomachs if you've never seen it before. It, it, this is another one that I could do a whole video on this one all on its own, but if you've not seen Taxi Driver, it really does come highly recommended. Directed by Martin Scorsese. Can't go wrong with a Scorsese film. Next one, Silver Dream Racer. David Essex and Beau Bridges play rival motorcycle racers on the racing circuit. Just a great film. 1978, I believe, or 79. David Essex sings the title track, Silver Dream Machine. It was just a good, dramatic action film of the 70s. David Essex had sort of forged ahead with movies like That'll Be the Day, Stardust, and this, I believe, was one of his first ones since then. This was 3 or 4 years on, but obviously he wanted to concentrate on his music career. But this is a great little film if you've not seen it. I don't know how well known it is. Obviously, if you're from the 70s or you grew up in the 70s, you will know this instantly, but younger people might not have heard of it. But it is highly recommended, without a doubt, a real time capsule to the 1970s. So Silver Dream Racer, well worth a look. Total horror classic, The Wicker Man. What to say about this? This is another one that you could pretty much do a whole video on. Directed by Robin Hardy, starring Edward Woodward. It is the story of a small town policeman who's called to an island in the Highlands, Summer Isle I believe it's called, to investigate a missing child. The villagers are just very, very strange. He gets the impression that this child has been murdered or has been kidnapped or something, and he gets wrapped up in the sort of the folklore of the village and this, that and the other. The ending is absolutely horrifying if you've not seen it before. It packs a real punch. It's a brilliant example of what somebody called folk horror, which you could also include from movies like Witchfinder General, Blood on Satan's Claw, Some of the Ben Wheatley movies, Into the Earth, I believe, is classed as folk horror, but this is a classic example. Made in 1973, it's been called the greatest British horror movie ever. Not sure about that, but it is certainly brilliant and well worth watching. Oh God, here's another one we could do a whole video on. Straw Dogs. Dustin Hoffman and Susan George. Amazing movie, directed by Sam Peckinpah. A couple moved from America to Susan George's old village in Cornwall. To cut a long story short, they cross the locals get violent with them. Susan George once had a bit of a fling with one of the locals, Charlie Venner. This caused such a stink when it first came out. The infamous rape scene, how that ever got through the censors, I do not know. Not that I approve of censorship in any way, shape or form, but I know what they were like back then. But this, if you've not seen it, if you like screen violence and real, what I will call controversial movies, this will definitely fit the bill for you. If you've not seen it, grab it while you can. And while we're talking of controversial movies, the final one for this is this one, A Clockwork Orange. One of my all-time favourite movies. This is a 40th anniversary box set, which I did an unboxing of on last week's video. It's set in some kind of a dystopian future. Stars Malcolm McDowell as the leader of a gang of what they call droogs, and basically they just go around robbing people. It's all murder, rape. It's an absolute nightmare of a movie. It's directed by Stanley Kubrick, complete masterpiece, but again, very controversial. This is another list that I could probably do, is sort of 10 movies that caused problems with the censors when they came out. This one, Straw Dogs, The Wicker Man, and possibly Taxi Driver, will definitely feature heavily in that list. But this is a wonderful movie. The filming is great. The soundtrack is wonderful. Malcolm McDowell is absolutely brilliant. Can't fault it. Absolutely can't fault it. Looking forward to watching it in 4K when I finally get a 4K setup to watch it on. But yeah, this would definitely feature in my top 5 favourite 70s movies, alongside Saturday Night Fever and Close Encounters, which I said I wouldn't mention, but it would feature heavily in that top 5 easily. Right, oh gold. Right, that's it for today. I just thought I'd share 10 of those. We'll do another one of those at some point, because I've got quite a few favourites lists to come out, favourite movies of the 80s. I've definitely got more 70s, 60s, all that kind of thing. I might do a top 10 favourite horror movies, actually, seeing as it's coming up to Halloween. Right, enjoy the rest of your weekend, folks, and I will talk to you all again soon. If you've enjoyed the video, please give me a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate it, and subscribe. That would be absolutely brilliant. I'll talk to you all again very soon. Take care. Have a great weekend. Ta-da.